This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily legal and justice roundup. We're diving into 10 significant cases from across the country, examining the latest evidence, court filings, and tragic developments in the pursuit of justice.
A former officer challenges evidence in a mistress's death.
A New Mexico man faces murder charges after road rage.
A California doctor is charged after a botched infant procedure.
A New York teen allegedly killed his grandmother's fiancé.
An argument at Costco leads to an axe attack.
An Oklahoma stepdad pleads guilty to horrific child abuse.
A Florida mother is indicted for her son's death.
A Pennsylvania nurse is accused of abusing a toddler.
An Ohio mother allegedly burned her son with water.
A babysitter is charged after a newborn's tragic death.
Starting with Matthew Farwell. Matthew Farwell, a former Massachusetts police officer, is currently fighting for his release from jail while awaiting trial for the death of Sandra Birchmore. Farwell faces federal charges for killing a witness, a charge recently upgraded because Birchmore was pregnant. The defense is now aggressively challenging the government's narrative, arguing that Birchmore's death was a suicide rather than a homicide. They point to her documented history of suicidal ideation and a specific Google search she made on the day she died. This case has become a complex battle of forensic experts and conflicting medical opinions.
The defense's motion highlights a significant disagreement among medical professionals. Two forensic pathologists initially classified the death as a suicide, and it wasn't until a third opinion was sought that the case was labeled a homicide. Farwell's attorneys argue that he poses no threat to the community and remained focused on his family even as media scrutiny intensified. They claim the government's facts will be heavily contested at trial. As the legal maneuvering continues, the court must decide if the evidence is strong enough to keep the former officer behind bars until his day in court arrives.
Moving to New Mexico. In Albuquerque, 31-year-old Cecilio Lopez is facing murder charges following a deadly road rage incident. Police say Lopez targeted 19-year-old Roman Valenciano, who was simply on his way to pick up his mother from work. Surveillance footage allegedly shows Lopez's silver Mustang brake-checking Valenciano's car before pulling alongside and opening fire. One bullet tragically struck Valenciano in the face, killing him instantly. This senseless act of violence has shocked the local community, especially given that the victim was doing a kind gesture for his family when his life was cut short by an aggressive driver.
The investigation revealed that Lopez allegedly tried to cover his tracks by painting his silver Mustang black immediately after the shooting. However, detectives were able to identify the vehicle through distinctive features like its spoiler and wheels. Even more disturbing is the report that Lopez allegedly returned to the scene 3 times to watch the police investigation before going home. He now faces multiple charges, including open murder and tampering with evidence. This case serves as a grim reminder of how quickly traffic disputes can escalate into fatal tragedies when firearms and unchecked aggression are involved on the road.
Next, a California tragedy. Dr. Hong-An Jan is facing involuntary manslaughter charges in Orange County after a botched circumcision led to the death of a 3-day-old infant, Charles Wang. The lawsuit alleges that Dr. Jan intentionally administered Demerol, a powerful narcotic, instead of the standard local anesthetic. Following the procedure, the newborn became lethargic and unresponsive. Despite the parents' desperate pleas for help, the doctor allegedly reassured them that these symptoms were normal. Tragically, the baby died the next day. Toxicology reports later confirmed excessive levels of the narcotic in the infant system, contradicting the doctor's own medical records regarding the medication used.
The parents have also filed a wrongful death and medical malpractice lawsuit, claiming the doctor's actions showed a conscious disregard for their child's safety. The legal team for the family asserts that the administration of the narcotic was concealed until an indictment revealed the truth. This case highlights a terrifying breach of medical trust and professional standards. As the criminal and civil cases move forward, the focus remains on how such a catastrophic error could occur in a routine procedure. The community is left mourning a life that ended almost as soon as it began, due to alleged negligence.
Now to New York. In a shocking case from Long Island, 18-year-old Noel Bermudez Chin is accused of murdering his grandmother's fiancé, Joseph Falvo. Prosecutors allege that the teen attacked the 61-year-old while he was sleeping on a couch, first throwing boiling oil and water on him before stabbing him multiple times. The most chilling detail is that Bermuda's Chin reportedly called 911 on himself after the attack. The victim and the suspect were living together in a trailer following a house fire, and the couple had been planning a July wedding. The motive for this brutal and sudden outburst of violence remains currently unknown.
Bermuda's Chin was apprehended about a mile from the home and has been charged with second-degree murder. During his recent arraignment, he was ordered to be held without bail as the investigation continues. The community is struggling to understand how a family dynamic could turn so deadly, so quickly. The loss of Joseph Falvo has devastated his fiancée, who was looking forward to their future together. As the legal process unfolds, the court will look for answers regarding the teenager's mental state and the events leading up to that fatal morning in the East Northport trailer.
Shifting to Florida violence. A dispute at a Miami Costco gas station took a bizarre and violent turn when Valeria Andrea Aguilar allegedly attacked another customer. The confrontation began when Aguilar started screaming at a gas station attendant. When a bystander intervened and suggested Aguilar's membership be revoked, Aguilar allegedly followed the woman to a nearby intersection. According to police, Aguilar then punched the woman through her car window and scratched her. In a desperate act of self-defense, the victim used an axe multi-tool to strike Aguilar before driving away. Aguilar has since pleaded not guilty to felony burglary with assault or battery charges.
The judge in the case has denied Aguilar bond, citing the aggressive nature of the encounter. If she is eventually released, she is strictly prohibited from contacting the victim or returning to any Costco location. While Aguilar admitted to following the woman, she denied intentionally striking her. This incident serves as a stark example of how minor disagreements in public spaces can spiral into dangerous physical altercations. The use of an axe in self-defense adds a unique and startling layer to this roadside conflict. Legal proceedings will continue to determine the full extent of Aguilar's culpability in the assault.
Next, an Oklahoma plea. Dustin Joel Walker has entered a blind plea in Oklahoma, admitting to the horrific abuse and neglect of his 11-year-old stepdaughter. The young girl was forced to give birth inside the family home without any medical care or prenatal assistance. DNA evidence confirmed with near certainty that Walker is the father of the infant. By entering a blind plea, Walker has left his sentencing entirely to the judge's discretion with no prior agreement from prosecutors. He faces the possibility of life in prison, which in Oklahoma equates to 45 years, and he must serve at least 85% of his sentence.
The victim's mother and grandmother are also facing charges for their roles in this systemic abuse. Prosecutors describe the child as traumatized, having endured an ordeal that will affect her for the rest of her life. The defense attorney noted that a blind plea was the only viable option given the severity of the crimes. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for June, where the judge will weigh the extreme nature of the neglect against the defendant's admission of guilt. This case has sparked outrage over the failure of the adults in this child's life to provide even basic protection.
Moving to Escambia County. In Florida, Jalinda Carey Smith has been indicted for the first-degree murder of her 5-year-old nonverbal autistic son. The child's emaciated body was found stuffed in a trash bag along a bay waterline. Investigators report that the boy had lost a third of his body weight and was severely malnourished. Before the discovery, Smith allegedly sent cryptic emails to her sister, begging her not to involve the police and claiming she found the boy not breathing. When police searched her home, they found it empty, with the bedsheets missing, suggesting a calculated attempt to hide the evidence of her son's suffering.
The details provided by the reporting officers are heartbreaking, describing the child's rib cage visible through his skin. Smith now faces charges of murder and tampering with evidence. Her attempt to use secure messaging apps to communicate with her sister suggests she was aware of the gravity of the situation. This case highlights the vulnerability of children with special needs and the devastating consequences when caregivers fail them. As the legal process moves toward trial, the community seeks justice for a young boy who lived his final days in what can only be described as a nightmare of neglect.
Now, a nurse's betrayal. A Pennsylvania nurse, Cindy Desser, is accused of endangering a 3-year-old girl who required round-the-clock medical care. The girl's parents became suspicious after finding a thumbprint-shaped bruise on their daughter's thigh. Upon reviewing surveillance footage, they were horrified to see Desser allegedly slapping the child and throwing her into her crib. In one particularly disturbing segment, The girl pulled out her breathing tube, and Desser allegedly took her time replacing it while the child gasped for air. Desser even reportedly told the struggling toddler, "You did this," while she was in clear medical distress. This is a shocking violation of professional ethics.
The parents trusted Desser because of her 20 years of experience, but the video evidence painted a picture of a monster at night. Desser was also seen sleeping on the job, further neglecting her duties. The father described the situation as a total nightmare, especially seeing his daughter shoved to the ground for simply sitting up. Desser now faces criminal charges, and the family is pushing for her to lose her nursing license permanently. This case serves as a warning to parents about the importance of monitoring home health care providers, even those who come with seemingly impeccable professional credentials.
Next, an Ohio arrest. In Ohio, 24-year-old Lanasha Walker has been charged with child endangerment after her son was hospitalized with severe burns. Medical staff at Cincinnati Children's Hospital found that the boy had second-degree burns over 10% of his body. Walker's other children told police they witnessed their mother pouring scalding hot water on their brother. Even more disturbing are allegations that Walker tried to hide the injuries using diapers and long socks to cover the burned skin. She also allegedly lied about seeking medical treatment previously, while doctors found evidence of both old and new burn injuries on the child's body.
Walker is currently being held on a $75,000 bond and has been ordered to have no contact with her son. All 4 of her children have been removed from her care and placed with other family members. The calculated nature of trying to hide the burns with clothing suggests a deliberate attempt to avoid detection while the child suffered. This case is a grim example of physical abuse within the home, and the critical role hospital staff play in identifying and reporting such incidents. The legal system will now determine the appropriate punishment for these alleged acts of cruelty.
Finally, a West Virginia case. Taylor Flint, a 25-year-old babysitter in West Virginia, is charged with child neglect resulting in death. Flint was caring for an 11-day-old infant while the mother was hospitalized with delivery complications. Tragically, the newborn suffered a fractured skull and severe intracranial injuries while in Flint's care. Flint told police she believed her own 3-year-old daughter beat the baby with a jar of petroleum jelly while she was in the bathroom. Most concerning is that Flint admitted she was aware of her daughter's history of violent behavior toward the baby, but failed to provide adequate supervision to prevent the fatal attack.
The infant was pronounced dead after going into cardiac arrest at the hospital. Flint is currently being held on a $100,000 cash bond as she awaits her preliminary hearing. This case underscores the heavy responsibility of caregivers to recognize and mitigate known risks, especially when dealing with highly vulnerable newborns. The mother, who was already struggling with medical issues, now faces the unimaginable loss of her child. As the investigation continues, the court will examine whether Flint's actions constitute criminal neglect. It is a heartbreaking conclusion to a day filled with stories of lives lost and justice sought.
That concludes our roundup for today. Thank you for joining us as we navigate these difficult stories. Follow this show for your next daily briefing on the legal news that matters most.